You are listening to Get Out of Your Own Way, the podcast about self-sabotage, emotional intelligence, and overcoming our limiting beliefs to pursue the lives we are meant for. My name is Brianna, and my book on self-sabotage, The Mountain Is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery, will be out in June. Today, we are here to talk about 3 limiting beliefs that are holding you back from your own success. So, there are a lot of limiting beliefs that are probably holding you back from your own success, but I really wanted to just touch on the 3 that I think are the most prevalent and the most common. So, what is a limited belief? A limiting belief is really the core of self-sabotaging behavior. It is an idea that we have about life that caps what we allow ourselves to do. So limiting beliefs can be anything from, life can only be so good, or I can only be liked by so many people before a few hate me, or I've never been good at this, so I'll never be good at it in the future. Limiting beliefs are anything that we tell ourselves over and over and over again to the point that we start to really believe it. It becomes a fact about life. So it starts out as a limiting thought, but when we think about it again and again and again, we allow ourselves to keep thinking about it. It starts to formulate into a belief. We start feeling it. It becomes just an essential part of our day-to-day narrative about who we are and what we're capable of. So let's start with one of the worst limiting beliefs. Life is supposed to be hard. This belief is filtering into every single part of your day. It is filtering into how you manage your money. It is filtering into your relationships. It is filtering into what you will and won't allow for yourself. So, life is supposed to be hard is a belief that we adopt when we are children, and it comes to us a few different ways. First of all, when you are a child, you have no control over your life. Very little control over your life. You are pretty much subject to whatever your parents or guardians need or want you to do. That's not abnormal. That's true for absolutely everyone. That's just part of the growing up process. So as we're growing up and we're young and things aren't unfolding the way that we want, our needs maybe aren't being seen, we can't really act on our desires. We kind of just have to go to school and kind of eat what food is made for us, and we live very much in someone else's circumstances, and this is true for absolutely everyone. So the way that we make sense of it is by telling ourselves, this is how life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be hard. The reason we do that is it's basically a self-soothing mechanism. So instead of becoming completely outraged because we don't have any control of our lives, we just tell ourselves, this is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hard. We're supposed to struggle. Now, this belief gets worse if we are surrounded from the time we are young by people who struggle. Now, look, everyone struggles. Absolutely everyone goes through challenges and hard times in life. Absolutely everyone. But there are some people that handle it, quite frankly, better than others. And there are some people who are stuck in such terrible patterns of negative thinking that all they can focus on is how unfair everything is and how difficult things are and how much pain they are in. And if you grow up around people who are stuck and your social circle as a young adult or an adult or around people who are stuck, you're going to reinforce this idea that you have that, yeah, life is really supposed to be so hard because look at everyone around me. It's hard for everyone. Yeah, sure, there are hard times. No question. After a breakup, a job falls through that you loved. I mean, come on, you lose someone you love by, someone passes. These are hard and difficult times, but life itself is not supposed to be hard. Not anymore. It was a lot harder for us, I would say. We're in a new age and a new dawn. I mean, just the basic things of, accessibility and growth. And some people have more challenges than others. There is no question about that. But if we live, even if we are one of those people who have a tremendous amount of challenges in front of us, by believing that life is supposed to be hard, we are moving ourselves farther and farther and farther away from ever overcoming them. Life can be sad, life can be disappointing, life can be unfair. But life can also give us opportunities to wake up. We can hit a low and say, I don't want to get back here again. What am I going to do that's different than anyone I have ever seen in my entire life, so I can change my world, my family's world, my community's world? How can I be the catalyst of movement and change? This is how we need more people thinking. We need more people thinking, how can I change the status quo, as opposed to my life must unfold on par with the status quo? How can I create a better life experience for myself, the people I love, the people I care about, the people who are around me? You might hear it phrased this way: how can I change the energy as opposed to just adapt to it? Whenever you walk into a room, you're sitting down with a group of people and everyone's maybe talking about someone in a negative way. Are you going to just join in, or are you going to be the person that's like, hey guys, this isn't cool, and then just kind of change the topic? Are you going to be the catalyst? Are you going to be the change? Probably not, if you think that life is supposed to be hard. Then you're going to come up on this challenge. Let's say you get into a great relationship and everything's going amazing and you love this person so much. If you believe that relationships are supposed to be painful, you are going to literally find reasons to be arguing and fighting and not trust them and end up sabotaging the relationship because you think it's supposed to be worse than it is. Another really, really common one is if you start working for yourself, or if you have a business, or you start doing anything that's different than the typical employment that most people think is, the right thing that you should do. I see this very often, in fact, which is people don't believe that they could make money and work remotely. They don't believe that they could be paid well for doing what they love. They don't believe that it could be that easy or that simple. And because their fundamental belief is life is hard, it's hard to earn money, it's hard to keep money, it's hard to manage money, it's hard to be in relationships, that's exactly what starts to unfold. You have to start shifting your mindset. Maybe not life is easy, but how about life can be abundant if I work hard? I can design a life and career that I love, because many, many people do. Relationships can be thrilling and fulfilling for me. What if we change that inner script from I have to suffer to my suffering is waking me up to the parts of life that I can transform and have a completely different experience? But it starts with knowing that the idea that life must be hard all of the time is just a limiting belief. So, number 2, I have to be the best to be good enough. I have to be the best to be good enough. And I've found this to become more and more popular in recent years, and I really think it's on par with kind of the internet and the digital age, which I think has been tremendous for human evolution and consciousness and awareness. But it's also exposed us to just how much a lot of people in the world are doing. So a lot of people interpret that as, well, I'm not as good as this person, so I'm not good enough. I'm not as beautiful as this person, so I'm not beautiful. I'm not as successful as my friend, so I'm not successful. That belief comes from, I must be the best to be enough. So the way that we start rewriting that is by knowing one person being attractive doesn't take away from your attractiveness. One person being successful doesn't mean you're not successful. You do not have to be the best to be good enough. You do not have to aspire to be at the top 1% of your industry to be a successful person with a fulfilling and happy life. You have to set the standard for your own life. What is enough for you? That's what you need to start thinking about. What makes me feel good when I show up? How do I want to look? How do I want to be? What kind of work do I want to do? What's enough money for me? What's enough? Where do I want to live? What kind of relationships do I want to have? What is enough for me? Because if you are on this constant chase of being the top, and you think that it will never be enough until you're better than everyone else around you, nothing will ever be enough for you, because you will never be better than everyone else around you. It just won't happen. Not with everything. There are people that have more or less than you, but if we can start to honor that and see where we are and be enough for ourselves, you really stop caring. You stop caring and you start appreciating. You start changing from, well, this person is so successful, so I must not be successful. You change that to, this person is so successful and that's inspiring me because they're actually showing me that so much is possible. Or I have a friend who is so beautiful, and I'm so happy for her, and I think she's amazing, and I am beautiful in my own way too. One person's light is not the absence of your light. My husband actually says this all the time, which is that there's enough sunshine for everyone. And there is. You do not have to be the best or better than everyone to be good enough and to have an amazing life. So you need to stop competing with other people for this like imaginary made-up status that would only really even matter to you, and start really getting real with yourself, which is, am I compensating because I'm actually not okay with where I'm at, and so I just want to appear better than someone else, make me feel better, because that's probably what's happening. And instead, what would make me feel secure with where I am and who I am? And then I think that desire to compete or to be the best of the best, it kind of fades away because you realize you never really wanted it in the first place. You didn't really care in the first place. You didn't need to be the best, the most attractive, the richest. You didn't want it ever. You were trying to compensate for an empty feeling inside of you. And the last one is, it's a hard one to change. Every time I try to make a change, I fail. When we're trying to overcome our worst patterns of behavior, our biggest problems in life, they become a chronic issue, a pattern, when every time we try to change them, we fail, and we feel like we always end up back at square one. So we think it's just pointless. We think it's just pointless. We're incapable of change. It can never be different. It's always been this way. I hear this all of the time. I've always been bad with money. Okay, well, you're setting yourself up to forever be bad with it if you don't start changing that belief right now. Maybe it can be, in the past, I wasn't good with money, but right now, I am learning to be good with it, so in the future, I can be great. So it doesn't always work to do a 180 right away, because if you go from, I've always been bad with money, and you try to change that too fast to, I'm amazing with money, you just don't believe it, because it's not true yet. So it's not actually helping you. It's making you even more resistant. You're like, well, I know that's a lie, and no, I don't feel great with money, so I'm not even going to say that. It makes me even more angry that I have to think that way. So don't worry about that. Let's take one step up from where you are right now. I've always been bad with money. Okay, can we move that to, I've always been bad with money, but I am willing to get better with money. Can we move that to, I am working to get better at this? Can we move that to, I am open to learning from an expert or reading books or really getting educated? Can we move that to, I am slowly going to start investing and getting really good with budgeting or whatever it is that's your problem? And then we slowly start to grow from, I could never do this, to step by step, I did start doing this. So if you have walked down 1,000 paths and been met with 1,000 dead ends, you can either think that that means that every door is closed, or you can believe that you are 1,000 steps closer to finding the door that's going to open, because that is actually what is happening here. You have made 1,000 mistakes, which means you are 1,000 steps closer to finding the path that is going to work for you. All that's happened in the past when you tried to make a change is you either haven't known what the real problem is or have not yet learned a way to fix it. You've been trying to fix it in ways that aren't the answer, and that's why it's not working. It's not that you're incapable of change. It's not that it's impossible. It's that everything you have tried so far, and most likely you think that you've tried a lot of different things, but you've probably taken relatively the same approach. You haven't done the real inner work, a real profound inner change and growth, because that usually requires you to look at the problem very honestly, very realistically. Get really honest with yourself here. And when we come to terms with that, we understand. We get connected to the real reason we are sabotaging our progress or our success. Then we can actually start making important change. You know, for years, you were probably just battling the symptoms. You're battling the surface level symptoms. You're trying to fix the way things look or the problem that you see on the outside. And you're not addressing the problem on the inside. So nothing's really shifting. You keep ending up right back where you started because you haven't been changing the problem. Change is possible. It's the only constant in life. It's probably the most possible thing in the world. Life is changing constantly, all of the time, every day, and you can't stop it. We were born for evolution. We were born to change. We were born to adapt. That is our fundamental nature. It is absolutely possible. But when you are stuck, when you are stuck in the same patterns of behavior, trying, the same path with the door that's always closed and wondering why it's still closed, you're not actually adapting, you're not changing, you're not learning. But if you really took it upon yourself to do that, you would find the change to quite be effortless, actually. So there are so many limiting beliefs that can be holding you back. And, life being hard and being the best to be good enough and change being impossible, those are really common ones. But it's important that you look hard at what your limiting beliefs are. So when you are coming up on a repeated struggle, maybe it's, I can only get into a relationship for 2 years before things start falling apart. What's happening at the 2-year mark that's an issue for you? Is it a connection thing? Is it a bonding thing? Do you get spooked? Are you scared? And look honestly into what that is. Do you not believe that you can have a long-term relationship? Do you not think that's possible? And that's where we need to start rewriting the script. The quality of your thoughts is the quality of your life. What you believe is possible for you is exactly what will be possible for you. Your life will probably not ever exceed the quality and limits of your thinking, okay? If you do not think it's possible, you can pretty much write it off as impossible. If you think it's possible, I'm not saying for sure it will absolutely happen, but you've made it possible by believing it is possible. So it is absolutely essential that when we are rewiring our self-sabotaging behaviors, we are rewriting our limiting thoughts.